Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. It's time for another Thursday Throwback Comeback DIY Dollar Tree Farmhouse or Coastal House. This is a cup weaving. We're going to use some jute cord from the Dollar Tree as well as some cotton twine. Remember, you can find the cotton twine in the tool bench section by the tools, and then we're going to trim it out with some nautical rope, but that's an option. You know, you can use whatever strings you guys want. For one of them, we're going to use this plastic cup from, as you can see, McDonald's, but it's just upcycling. For the other one, we're going to use popsicle sticks, the skinny ones, as well as a paper cup or plastic cup. The size really depend on personal choice. And then we're going to use a little bit of hot glue as well as a scissor for occasionally. So this one is the big cup weaving. This is going to be the big vase or pen holder or whatever you want to use it for. For this one, what you want to do is you want to cut your cup in strips, and they need to be an odd number stripped. So what I did was I turned this cup over and I marked 3 points on the bottom, and then I took each of the sections between the 2 points and I divided them into 3. So I ended up with 9 strips. They don't have to be even. This one actually kind of looks fun, if, in my opinion, if it's not even. But if you want to make it even, absolutely, you can get out your tape measure and you can measure and that whole thing. Now this cup from McDonald's, I don't recommend using it. It was a little too weak. Red Solo cups are a little stronger plastic, and this is really what I've always used before is Red Solo cups. But it definitely did work with this. It gave me a little trouble. Also, when I was cutting it, I kind of like stutter stepped my scissors, but basically instead of doing one clean cut, I cut halfway and then I had to cut the other halfway. And what ended up happening was I created these little pointy tips along the edges every once in a while, and they stink because they catch up on the thread. It was just like a big pain in the booty. It really was. But what I'm doing is I just started with a string at the bottom. I'm going to end up pulling it on the inside when I'm done, but I started with on the outside. And you're just going to weave. I know that sounds crazy. This was a project that we did back in summer camp. Yes, there's one thing about me you did not know. I went to summer camp. It was for free. And I went 4 times, and it was probably some of my favorite experiences when I was young. Okay? So we're going to weave this back and forth in and out. Now, of course, when we did it in summer camp, we used colored yarn. It was the 70s and the early 80s. So with all these neon fun colors. And I have also done this as in the 90s, we did it with a embroidery floss, colored embroidery floss. But I thought I would step it up. I thought I would bring it back, but add the farmhouse flair by using jute and cotton twine. And I actually kind of really like it. Not only I feel like I've made it into like a little bit of a farmhouse vase with basically 50 cents worth of string and plastic garbage. But I feel like you can also make it coastal. I feel like you can also really make it even boho chic, but just by changing up the trim a little bit. I added the nautical rope. If I threw on a seashell, that would definitely make it feel like it was coastal. If I exchanged the nautical rope for maybe a couple of layers of jute instead, or even some of that really pretty lace, the lace crocheted lace ribbon that they have at the Dollar Tree, that would also give it that boho chic kind of feel as well. So yeah, I think that there's a lot of different ways that you can do this, even just using these particular 2 strings. Now, if you did it all in cotton twine or all in jute, that would be lovely as well. I'm just showing you both so I can show you how we can connect the different colors. Okay. So it's really just a continuation of every time I do a row, I push it down. You don't want to pull it too tight, because then what ends up happening is the cup will kind of start to collapse on itself. But I will tell you, that does kind of create a fun vibe. If you notice the vase that I made, the tall one, it does kind of come out during that first section of burlap, I'm sorry, not burlap, but jute. And then it tucks back in with the cotton. So there's a way to achieve that. Basically, how tight or loose you weave it will determine the shape of your vase or your container or your cup. I think if I didn't tell you it was cup weaving, you might not have known that those were cups down there, right? Okay. So you're just going to continue the whole way until you get to the point where you want to change colors. Like I said, sometimes you can get different strings at the Dollar Tree. You could buy different craft kits that have yarns in them as well. There's some sort of like sewing projects in the little kids craft sections from time to time. But basically what you want to do is you want to cut off the piece. You want it to try to put your knot on the inside of the cup. So I kind of measure that. I cut off the end of my string. I laid the two strings next to each other with the cut ends next to each other, and I knotted them together. And I wanted to make sure that this went behind a section. So I basically kind of eyeballed where I wanted my knot to be. And then I just continue weaving with the next color. Now, you can make your stripes as wide as you want. Like I said, you can do this in any color really that you want. But I really do like this to like mixed color. One of the fun things that happens is that when you make your one neck section tighter, the section below it will kind of start to sag and be floppy and fun. This happens with the cotton twine, if I, because it flops. I think the jute just makes it look puffy, and I'll show you the puffy layer of jute when we get to it. But the bottom cotton sort of kind of makes this really flowy, beautiful feel. So if you're going for that boho chic feel or that shabby chic feel, I would definitely consider making some rows tighter, some looser, because it does make the cotton hang so much softer. I guess that's what I was trying to say. But basically we just continue. I know this is like, why are we watching her weave? But I wanted to show you too, I'm going to catch up here in a minute, where I'm going to get snagged on a piece of plastic. And what I ended up doing was, you'll see me take out my scissor from time to time. What I decided to do was to back out, unweave basically, and then take it, and even if it wasn't a perfectly straight line that I was cut anymore, I would cut the divot in, but I would make it smooth basically. So you want the transitions, you want the edges to be smooth, and it doesn't make a difference if they're perfectly straight or not, because that doesn't really affect the weaving at all. All right, and this is where I decided to start making it a little tighter, because I wanted that basically to create that vase sort of look. So you can see how it's starting to come together. But what will happen when this happens, and if you decide to do this, is that your tabs will start to overlap a little bit. So it does make it a little, not more difficult, because weaving is very basic. This is actually a project I did when I was a child. So if you have kids or handicapped people or people with disabilities, this is a great project for them too. But what it does do when you start to squeeze the top together, it overlaps the cup tabs. If you find that objectionable, or if you really want to make it come really, really narrow at the top, you can trim your tabs down less wide than they are normally, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Okay, but you can see there how it starts to come together at the top a little bit. I'm tapering it a little bit at the top. I no longer have that cup shape, which is one of the bonuses about it, is that you really can create, almost like when you're doing pottery, you can really create the shape that you want, to a certain extent. Obviously it's still a cup, don't get me wrong. So here, let me show you here. See how soft and puffy that jute is? I don't know how else to describe it. And how loose the threads were on the bottom. So I just wanted to show you that's what happens. That's what happens when you start to make the top tighter. But I just love that effect. I really do. Now I know that this project isn't for everybody, but I really want to be able to bring you crafts from decades ago, but we can update them. They're still the same techniques and still a similar style, but definitely we can make them a little bit more modern to fit our flair and our taste. And honestly, a hand-woven basket like this would probably cost you $10. A hand-woven vase, I should say, when it's all just a throwaway cup and, like I said, 50 cents worth of string, if that. Oh yeah, let's not forget the 10 cents worth of nautical rope we put at the top. So now that I've gotten to the top, I want to cover up all those plastic bits. I wanted to glue the nautical rope around the outside. And what I did was I did a start to finish point. And then for the second two, inside the top two ropes, I just did one continuous start to finish. And I ended it on the inside of the vase. And that was that one. So simple. So now this one, I'm using a paper bathroom cup. I really thought I had red solo cups in my house. I didn't. But I should have cut this a little bit deeper. But basically, what we're going to do is we're going to glue an odd number of popsicle sticks on the outside of a cup base. These Dollar Tree paper cups are kind of really flimsy. These are the bathroom cups, and I don't recommend using these as much as a red Solo cup or anything like that. But if you do use a plastic or red Solo cup, you need to cut it down about an inch or two. Here's what's going to happen at the bottom of the vase. Wherever how much cup you have left over, you won't be able to weave down there, but you can cover it with nautical rope or lace or something later. I'm going to insert pictures at the end of the examples of what they looked like in the 70s when we made them back in day in camp. But what I forgot to pay attention to was the spacing. So you need an odd number. It ended up being 13 around this little cup. And you want to make sure that they're spaced as evenly as possible. They don't have to be exact, but you want to not leave a huge space between two of them and then try to fit the rest of them all snug to each other. And you want to make sure that they touch each other at the bottom, but definitely stay separated towards the top. You want to have that cup flare come out, okay? The reason I said I don't recommend these little paper cups is because they're coated in wax. And what kept happening is the popsicle sticks kept coming unglued, which was something I didn't consider. We had always done it with white glue and plastic cups because who had a hot glue when you're 8 years old? I didn't. Maybe you guys did when you're younger than me, but I didn't for sure. And we're just repeating the same kind of weaving thing. So you have odd number of strips in the big cup, an odd number of popsicle sticks in this one, and we're going to go in and out. Now, I'll show you the samples at the end. I'm going to weave this from the bottom to the top, except for where the cup is. I'm going to cover that with nautical rope. I'll show you in the samples, or you'll see here in the samples, that the way we did it back in camp too was we either painted the popsicle sticks or you can stain the popsicle sticks, and you actually leave some of the wood exposed at the bottom and the top. You're just supposed to weave the middle part. But I wanted to take it to make these almost like a set. So I went ahead and I completed it all the way to the top. But you guys, again, I encourage you to do your own creative flow on it, and I would just love to see what you guys come up with. And a lot of people do have a lot of colors in their home, so they don't need to just stick to the farmhouse white and natural neutral colors. Okay, so this one's going to go much faster because it did go much faster because it's much smaller, and we're tying on the ropes the same. However, here's the thing: the inside of the cup behind the popsicle stick is a lot smaller than the inside of the cup behind one of those strips we cut in the McDonald's cup. So you really have to be careful where you put your knot. You want to make sure that your knot does stay behind a popsicle stick so it sticks to the inside of the cup, and it's not exposed on the outside. All right? Now, shaping this with the popsicle sticks is not a good idea. So what I forgot to pay attention, I told you the glue was coming undone in the cup and I didn't realize it, was as I started to squeeze the top too tight, I ended up straightening the sticks. They lost their cup shape, and it ended up pulling away from the bottom of the cup. So I ended up having to go back and add that and fix it. And then what I did was I added some glue to that, and then I stuffed it in another cup to keep that cup shape while I finished off the top. Okay? And then once I did that, I took my nautical rope. I did 2 layers on the bottom Did I do 2 layers on the bottom? Maybe I'll just do 1 layer on the bottom. 2 layers on the top. And for this one, I tucked that string underneath between the 2 popsicle sticks, and I glued it to the bottom of the cup. Okay? Yep, 1 layer. We'll just do 1 layer. And that's it. And here they are. So I hope you really enjoyed this tutorial. And here's a little bit of what inspiration looks like. This is with a variegated colored yarn, and this is the plastic cup weaving, and then this is the one with the popsicle sticks. These ones were stained, as you can tell, and exposed at the top and the bottom. So I hope you really enjoyed this. Like I said, if you have any questions at all, leave them in the comments down below. If you decide to try this, I'd love to see what you guys come up with. And if you haven't yet, click subscribe, and when you do, a little bell will pop up. When you ring that bell, YouTube will let you know whenever I upload a new video. And as always, take care, God bless, and we'll see you next time. Bye!